Alright guys, so I was gonna go down and get some load for the phone, but maybe I'll do that later. But you know what, it's story time. I want to tell you a story, personal story here in the Philippines. Basically how I got screwed over by a Filipino woman. There's a ton of horror stories out there, and guess what, I'm one of those horror stories. Before I met Lut, you know, if you haven't followed the channel, and I'd said in the past I had friends I had worked with that had dated Filipino women, that come over to the Philippines and brought them back to the States, married them, and they're happy. And friends of mine told me, hey, go on this website, check out this website. They said, be careful because there are women out there that will scam you and that will take advantage of you. Just be careful, don't get too involved with any until you come over to the Philippines and meet them. So I met somebody online, and with that thought, let me change this battery. It's going dead. Alright, so I had took their advice, my friend's advice. I talked to a few, I even talked with Lut, but at the time Lut wasn't serious and she wasn't looking for anything serious. That's another story, we'll talk about that some other time. So I was talking to one online and stuff, and you don't know, the thing is, you don't know a person until you actually come here and meet them. Just like anything else online, I could be a millionaire and I live in a multi-million-dollar home and drive Porsches and BMWs and travel around the world. You can be whatever you want online, let's face it. So I had talked to this person for quite a while, and then in 2012 when I decided to come over here, I came over and met the person. They came down to the airport and I met the person, and did a little touring around Manila there, and then went back to her place and stuff. And I walked in and I'm like, oh my god, what's going on here? You don't have anything, you don't have much, and I knew she didn't have much, which was no big deal. And you know what, and she even had a child, and that was fine with me, because you know what, to each their own. If you choose to meet a Filipino person and marry them or date them and they have children, to each their own. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. I even come from a family, my mom was divorced, my father was divorced, and then they got together. My father had 2 children, my mother had me and my other brother, and my dad, as I know him, was the only person that I knew as my father and called my father, because we were so young, and my father adopted us. So you know what, I had no problem with that. I grew up with a family that we came from divorced families, and there were other children involved, but you know what, we all became a family and we were all happy together, and we're still happy together now. So that was no problem, so you know what, when I met the person, like I said, I'm like, oh, it was kind of sad for me to see how she was living. Like I said, first time over in the Philippines, didn't know much about the Philippines. There was no videos out there, of guys explaining the Philippines and showing how people live and what to expect, and this, that, and the other. So I said, all right, let's go do some shopping. The couches were all beat up and they were nasty and everything. There was like laying on a piece of hardwood. It was hardwood. So went out and bought some new couches, bought a TV, bought a refrigerator, bought like a little dining room set and everything like that. And you know what, and everything was good. I was only there for like 2 weeks, so I didn't really get to know the person that well. So I went back to the States and everything, still stayed in touch, kept talking to the person, and I was even one of those guys that was sending money for rent and for food and things like that. So then I came back in, when was it? August, or no, it was the beginning of 2013, and I spent about 4 months then talking, just hanging out, being with the person, getting to know the person. But you know what, it was kind of weird and kind of funny, and I always, in the back of my mind thought, I don't understand what's going on here. you know, she would always say, oh, you know, you can't go out because, you know, it's not safe for you. And, you know, when we would go out, you know, she was kind of off, you know, standoffish and things. She would say, oh, I got to go down and see my family down in Manila. And I'm like, well, why don't I just go along? Oh, it's unsafe. You don't want to go down there. You know, it's a bad area. And finally one time I said, you know what, I'm going along. You know, I'm going along down there. Why wouldn't you want, you know, your family to meet me? You know, to meet the person you're with and be with you. And so I went along, met the family and everything like that. And but she always seemed kind of like sneaky. You know, always on the phone, talking on the phone. And of course, I couldn't understand what she was saying, you know. But always on the phone and talking on the phone. And it was like, I always said, you know, where are your friends at? You know, why don't you introduce me to your friends? And, you know, and things like that. And, oh, you know, they're not good people. And, you know, I'm like, oh, all right. So, you know, this went on, but I always kind of felt like, you know, I don't understand what's going on here. Like, why wouldn't you be proud of the person you're with, you know? And, you know, like me, I'd be proud of the person I'm with. So, you know, like I said, I bought all this stuff and paying, you know, for the apartment and food and furnishing everything, bought an air conditioner. Then I left. I went back to the States again, and I said, okay, I said, I'm coming back, you know, October of 2013. I'm going to spend like 6 months here. So she's like, all right, no problem. So I mean, we kept in communication. We kept talking all the way up to that point. You know, still paying the rent, still paying the bills and all that. Yeah, you know what? Don't say, you know, sucker across my head. Lesson learned. Anyways, I was paying all that. Then one day she said, oh, as time was getting closer, she said, oh, my child's father is, he's trying to find out where I'm at. I'm scared. I need to move. I'm like, okay, why don't you take the deposit, security deposit, first month's rent, move, and I'll pay the, you know, whatever's left over for you to move. So, you know, she's like, okay, I got to move. So she moved, and I said, you know, hey, what's your address and stuff? So she gave me this address, and it didn't kind of add up because you got to have a number with an address. You just can't have like Gayabano Street, or you just can't have like whatever kind of street without a number, without a house number. And I would say to her, well, what's the house number? Oh, there is no house number. There is no house number. I'm thinking, all right, well, who knows? You know, the Philippines is funny. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not true. So I'm getting ready to come out, and things just didn't seem right, you know, when I was talking to her, you know, online and things, and it just felt kind of funny. But you know what? I figured I'm going to come out because I already planned the trip, already had the ticket paid for. I'm going to come out. So about 3 days prior to coming out, like, I couldn't get a hold of her. I'm like, what's going on? You know, I can't get a hold of this person. You know, maybe lost the phone or whatever. So I come out, get to the airport, and I have a driver pick me up, and I say, hey, here's this address. It was a San Fernando address. He said, oh, I moved to San Fernando. So it was a San Fernando address. So me and the driver went to San Fernando, and we drove all over the place trying to find this, you know, this apartment, and we couldn't find it. And I asked the driver, I said, listen, can I borrow your phone? Maybe she sees my number coming in and she won't answer it. So I use his number, and hello, and I'm like, hey, this is, you know, where are you at? I'm trying to find you. And it was hello, playing the old dumb, you know, hello, I can't hear you. Tried to call back, nothing. So I'm like, all right, well, what am I going to do? So I went to a hotel and stayed at a hotel up here in Angeles City. By this time, you know what, I was running on fumes. I was tired. You know, I didn't know what to do. So I, you know, tried to get some sleep. Next day I woke up and I'm like, how am I going to get a hold of this girl? Let me start using my brain. Let me start thinking, how can I get a hold of this person? How can I find out where this person lives? So what I did was, see, I was paying the cable bill too. I was paying the cable and the internet. So I said, you know what I can do? I can go down to the internet company and see if I can get the address down there. So I went down to the internet company and said, hey, I'm here to pay so-and-so's bill. I can't remember the address, but here's the phone number. I said, you know, can you bring up the account? I want to pay it. And they're like, yeah, we can bring it up. So they brought up the account, and I said to them, I said, you know, what is the address? I thought it was something else, and they gave me the address, and it was a new address. So I kind of knew where they lived, where they moved, where she moved to. But anyways, what I did then is I went back to my old apartment, and I asked the lady, I said, I showed her my phone in the picture. I said, you remember her? Where did she move? And she's like, oh, they moved over in this area, this area. And I said, can you show me? And she was kind of hesitant, and I kind of greased the palm of her hand a little bit. And she took me over into the area. She said, they're over in this area, but I'm not going to really tell you where they're at. I'm like, okay. So I started walking around with my phone and showing people the picture. You know, do you know where this person lives? You know, oh, over here, over here. I would go over there and knock on the door. Is this, oh no, we don't, you know, that's not her, that's not her. So finally, I finally, somebody said, oh, I know her, I know where she lives, I know where she lives. So we go over to this house. I'm like, is that where she lives? They're like, yep, that's where she lives. So I walk up to the house, and I can hear music playing and stuff, and I'm like, there's where they live. So the door was kind of closed a little bit, and by this time I was like kind of irate, because I'm like, you know, this person just took off and took all my stuff and, you know, scammed me. So I'm standing there in front of this door, and I literally lean back, like on TV, how the cops come busting through your door, and kick this door wide open. This door goes flying open. Right? I look, there's a bunch of Filipino, well, not a bunch, there's quite a few Filipinos. They're sitting around a table talking and watching TV, and they all turn, they look up at me, and their eyes are wide open, and I looked at them, and I'm like, oh my God, I kicked in the wrong door. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry, I apologize, I didn't mean, I'm looking for this person. Somebody told me they were here, and after a while they were kind of like laughing and stuff, and but yeah, and then, you know, I was walking around. Next thing I know, I started having a crowd of people following me, telling me, oh, there. So at this point in time, I'm like, you know what, I got to get out of here. I don't know where this is going to go. So I left. The next day I went down to the police station. I said, hey, I have this person's address. You know, can you go with me? Can you find it? And they did. We hopped in a car or a truck. We went down there, found the address. He talked to the landlord. Landlord said, no, she's not here. They're down in Manila, but their stuff is all here. They're going to come back. Here to find out, the ex-boyfriend was still living there. He was living there while I was not there. It was a big game. It was a big scam. I was a sucker that fell into it. So I went back to the police station, and I said to him, I said, you know what, I want to press charges called, you know, theft by deception. And you know, back in the States, there's such a thing called theft by deception. I said, you know what, she scammed me, she deceived me, and she took all my stuff, and the officer looked at me, the investigating officer, and he said, listen, he goes, you can do something like that. He goes, you can go to civil court, I think it's civil court, and you can file charges and stuff. He goes, but it takes a long time. He goes, that girl can take off into the province and stuff. He goes, it's not worth your time. He said, things like that happen here quite a bit. He said, the best thing to do, he goes, listen, he goes, what's going to happen, excuse me, she's going to sell everything, the refrigerator, the furniture, excuse me, the air conditioner. She's going to sell everything because she doesn't have money. And what's going to happen is, in a couple months from now, she's going to be broke and she's not going to have anything. He said, you know what, just write it off as a loss. I'm like, you know what, you're right, I'll just write it off as a loss and be done with it. So I said, you know what, I'll just write this one off as a loss. So that's what I did. I wrote it off as a loss. Meanwhile, like I said, I had planned to be here for 6 months, you know. I went back to the hotel and I'm thinking, you know what, I'm not going to let this drag me down. I'm not going to let this destroy what I want. You know, things happen for a reason. You know, if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be sitting here right now with my life, with my wife, and enjoying, you know, life right now here in the Philippines. Things happen for a reason. I wasn't going to be one of them guys that, you know, run back to the States and, you know, Filipinos are no good, the women are all scamming you, you know, this, because there's dudes out there that are in the same situation or had the same thing happen to them. And of course now all Filipino women are out to scam everybody, take your money, lie to you, cheat on you, all this crazy stuff. You know what? I wasn't going to let that happen. And I wasn't going to think like that. And I didn't. And like I said, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be sitting here right now where I'm at. So you know what? I stuck it out. You know, I stuck it out. I'm glad I did. And like I said, how I met Lut and how that all transpired, that's another story. And we'll share that with you somewhere down the road. But yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. You know what? There's people here, even here now. I know a dude. He's the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. And he got married here to a Filipino, and he's one of those guys. I mean, he'll do anything for you. Got a good heart, but his wife married him for money. And you know what? He can see, we call it the writing on the wall, but he's kind of blind to it. I see it. Lut sees, you know what this girl's doing. You know, always on the phone, talking on the phone, you know, doesn't want to spend time with her family, runs here, runs down to Manila, wherever. It's like you can tell she doesn't want to be a part of the family. My thing is, you know what, if you got a feeling, you know that feeling, you know, you might love the person to death, but you can you know, if you can't see the writing on the wall, I guess as I would call it, then you know what, it's on you. Like I said, I never really fully committed to the person, you know, said, oh, I'm, you know, gonna be coming here, I'm gonna marry you, I love you, this, that, and the other thing, because I didn't really know the person all that well. When I came back and I was gonna stay for 6 months, that was basically, I was saying to myself, okay, either we're gonna work out or we're not gonna work out. And guess what? When I look back at it, guess what? She chose for me that it wasn't going to work out. You know, I can look back now at it and laugh and, you know, say, you know what? I got scammed. Yeah, I got scammed. Guess what? People get scammed. But I'm telling you right now, if you're one of those that got scammed and you hate the Philippines and you hate the Filipino women and you hate this about the Philippines, you know what? Try to get over that, because not everybody here in the Philippines and not every woman here in the Philippines is out to scam foreigners and out to take advantages of foreigners. There are a lot of good women here. There's a lot of good people here. It does become challenging at times, as I'm finding out, but you know what? I'm happy I stayed. I'm happy I stuck it out. You know what? I'm happy that I'm here right now and that I'm happy in life and I have a happy family. And that's it, guys. That's my story about how I got scammed by a Filipino woman here in the Philippines. Journey continues tomorrow, and we'll see you then.